Hello and welcome to another episode of Greene King's Inclusion Podcast, A Pint of Perspective. My name is Gary Clark-Strange and I'm the host for today's episode. And today is a real team effort. We are joined by the team from Mannor Farm pub near Birmingham. Welcome everyone. Hello and welcome to the podcast. We've got Renee, we've got Sai and we've got Mike joining us today. And as I said, it's a real team effort. It's an example of some amazing things that are happening with inclusion across Greene King, but specifically looking at an individual pub that we feel the story here is one that is pretty groundbreaking and something that is what we would hope to replicate across all of our organisation. And the centre of that starts with our general manager. No pressure on you, Sai, putting that right on you to start off. But we really wanted to talk to you all today. So thank you for being part of the conversation. And thank you for making the journey even further up north. We're in Manchester filming today. What today is about and what this podcast is about is sharing stories. We really believe that the way to inspire others to think differently about inclusion or just to think differently about how we make each other feel welcomed is to share our own unique stories, and we all have got different experiences that we can bring to the table. So there's no agenda today. We don't have to cover any specific topics and stuff. We just wanted to have a great conversation with you all about what's going on yourselves as individuals, but also at Mannor Farm under Sai's incredible leadership. What is the changes that are happening, and how is that making positive experiences for you as you're starting to grow your career in the hospitality industry? So that's the plan for today. Are you good and ready to go to share your stories with us?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's
Cool. All right. Great to have you, and thank you again for being here. So I'm going to come to you, Sai, to start off. No, as I said, no pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. Why? So, as the general manager of a pub, you have lots of responsibilities going on. Talk to us a bit about. Tell us about your pub. Tell us about your role. But why working with different programs, which we're going to talk about today, to bring in people with different experiences and different backgrounds to work in your pub? Why is that so important to you?
So, I've been at Mannor Farm for 7 years now. Opened it from a new build. Recruited for different backgrounds, different age groups, different sort of for the area and the catchment that it needed, different demographic altogether.
Okay.
Done that throughout my years as being a GM for over 20 years. I learned that that's the best way to build a team. Everybody's got to be different. Nobody can be the same. And there's a little bit of a personal background story to it. I have 3 children that are all autistic. One of them's also got ADHD. And I've got a wife that's also autistic as well, that's just been diagnosed. So for me, there's a personal history with it of actually supporting people into work. And we were approached 5 years ago by Prince's Trust with Michael. And the story about Michael really hit home. And it was kind of at the stage where I just got my eldest daughter diagnosed with autism and the struggles that we'd gone through.
Yeah.
And I thought, actually, where does the future go? What does she want to do? Is there going to be any boundaries and barriers of where she goes in the future? Is there going to be things stopping her getting employed? And she's 17 now. She's seen the stuff that we do at work. She's looking at different things. She's coming more out of herself. The other 2 daughters have got the same sort of barriers that they're going to have. But if I can open the door up for just one person and hopefully more and spread that message that actually these people can actually work and they can do a job, it's just about supporting them. And they're not going to get it right the first time, but having patience. And I think that's the message I've been trying to get across to everybody, is actually everybody's employable. It's just finding the right job and what they're good at.
What age were they when they were diagnosed?
So my eldest, she's 17, so she was diagnosed about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Looking at my other 2, 11 and 8, they've been diagnosed in the last sort of 18 months. And my 11-year-old daughter, she's literally just been diagnosed with ADHD as well. So all of them autistic, all of them on the spectrum, and ADHD. Every single one of them different, from anxiety to overactive, things like that. So very different needs. Not one of them is the same. So yeah, hopefully things that I've learned at home with how they've behaved and what they've done is I've took that into work. I'm probably better at it at work than I am at home because I don't have that person.
Do your team agree? That's the question we were asking.
We're never always going to hit it 100%, but we do our best and we'll have our moments.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah, I have my panic attacks sometimes, but sometimes I just calm myself down and tell myself that I'm going to be all right.
And Mike helps you with that, right? Or it's not Mike, Si, sorry.
What did you say?
Si helps you with that at work.
Yeah.
So you brought in 2 members of your team with you today who are here to share their stories of different backgrounds, but I guess it's your personal passion that's helped you to develop that within your team?
Yeah, it's definitely the personal bit that's behind it that's driven it, is I want to create a better culture for my kids and other people's kids, that actually there is something out there in the future for them.
Got you.
I just think opening the door up just for a few people, other people will follow. And so Mike's worked there for over 5 years now. He's loyal to me and to the team and to the brand. He loves it there. And Renee joined us this year through Mencap just before Christmas.
Yeah, I think so.
So she doesn't even get paid. She's on a Mencap program, so she volunteers and comes in. So she's just increasing her hours to get busier shifts, to get around that anxiety and to work with it. She doesn't always have a job coach with her anymore, so she's getting to the point where actually we're looking at a slightly busier weekend shift, and actually she's well on her way to getting herself employed when the next vacancy comes up. So
wow.
Another story that hopefully in 5 years' time she's still with Mannor Farm or Greene King if she's moved.
No pressure, but you've got competition here to keep up with Mike, Renee. Renee, talk to us about your experience then. So you've come through the Mencap program. How have you found it since you've come on placement with us?
Iffy, but I've been able to manage myself kind of, because like before I was at the Chelmsford Mencap and that wasn't for me. So
okay, why was that?
I was just getting too distracted to the point where I just lost track of what I was doing, like in the lessons and stuff. But now I'm at the Birmingham site of Mencap, which is very not better for me now.
It's
I
working
think it's
for
changed.
You. What's your background? What's your diagnosis, Renee?
I've got autism.
Autism.
Yeah.
And when were you diagnosed?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But I do know I have it.
Okay, you definitely know you have it. How does that affect you? What's your, because as Mike said, it's we're all
it used to
individual.
affect me, but it doesn't anymore because I'm more older now.
Okay.
So it's like I'm not really bothered. But like the way I am, like when I have no filter and I just say how it is just kind of not for me anymore. Like I just feel like embarrassed because sometimes when I express how I feel, it doesn't kind of like, don't know how to explain it, but it just hits me kind of.
Okay.
You definitely shouldn't be embarrassed. You work hard and you've gotten a lot better since you started. Everyone should be proud of you. You're getting there. Just said we can't have Tom here as well. He's been doing great. He's the other Mencap.
Another Mencap.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's been so interesting to hear your experiences with Greene King and also the opportunities that you've got through Mencap and through Prince's Trust to come in to get work experience, as in your case, Renee, but also a job for you, Mike, and hopefully in the future for you, Renee, as you come out of placement, the opportunity to get a permanent job with us. I was reading some stats. I'm just going to read them out. So according to the Gov stats, 53.6% of all disabled people are in work, which we can argue is good or is bad. Only 30% of autistic people are in work. And that hit hard when I read that stat. And then I listened to people like Si talking about your personal experiences, which obviously give you inspiration for bringing that into work, but also listen to both your stories, why it's so important that we give people opportunity, whether it's through placements or through coming to different programs. Why do you think the barriers are there? Why do we think there's only 30% of people with autism in work?
I think there's a stigma around it.
Yeah.
I think there is a big stigma around it. I think people are nervous about what they're going to get. There's definitely a lack of understanding and education around it. It's only really been talked about more the last few years. I think before my daughter was diagnosed, all the problems that we had with trying to understand what she was going through is actually, there was no information really out there.
Yeah.
I think more and more we're talking about it. More and more people are being diagnosed now. and people are obviously coming out and saying what they've been diagnosed with, and I think that's the biggest bit, and getting that support. So I think there is the opportunity that people with autism will get into work now, that they can see that there's opportunities and people are more aware of it. We do more training around it. We're more diverse around everything that we do. So I think it's just the barriers that have been there. And a lot of people with autism that I've met personally and from a personal, a lot of it is around the anxiety about getting into work.
Yeah.
So it's
because not everybody's as open to it, right?
No, a lot of people aren't open to it. A lot of people are nervous about having that first interview.
Yeah.
For somebody at 16, 17 going for their first job interview, is probably nervous enough. They've got somebody with autism and suffers from anxiety going for that interview as well would be double, if not triple, the intensity of that. So it's supporting them when they go through that and getting them ready for it.
Renee, when did you first meet Si?
When I first had my
Was it an interview that you had, or how does the program work that you get introduced to your manager?
I think we met like in the restaurant, like in the I can't remember what it's called, extension. Yeah. I was doing some stuff online, and that's how I met him.
Okay. And how did it feel to meet somebody who you felt, would give you an opportunity to come into the work environment?
It was a bit like nerve-wracking, but I got along with it.
Like Si kind of says, we all have anxiety going for job interviews at the best of times. I mean, I remember going for my first job interview was at McDonald's in a long time ago, when I was 17 years of age. I was overcome with anxiety. I wasn't autistic. I didn't have any of them struggles. So I guess it's hard for people to come in and face that for the first time.
Yeah,
right?
I had my job coach with me as well. So it was even more better for me because I had a bit of panic attack.
So, which is understandable. What does a job coach do for you?
She helps me with like things based on like the restaurant. Like she'll be with me if I need any help and support me with anything.
So she supports you through the recruitment process and then on the job as well?
Yeah.
Great. And then Si said that some shifts you don't have your job coach with you now.
Because I got more confident now.
Okay, great. And how does that feel when you are in that space?
Good. I like it.
Do you think you'll get to a point where you won't need the job coach anymore? Is that the goal?
Yeah.
Nice. How does that feel for you, Si?
It's massive. So the work that we've done with Mencap this year has been massive for us. It's the first thing that we did. So the job coach we did the interview. We got to know about obviously Renee and her background. She came in. They do a walk round of the business. They get to meet a couple of the team. They do their online training first, and then they kind of get integrated with the team. But what we do know from and we use Michael's example when we first took him through the Prince's Trust 5 years ago, is actually people with autism and anxiety is not changing too much. So Renee started on a Monday. We don't change the team very often, so I was always there every Monday.
Yeah.
And the other people that work with me on a Monday were the same people for weeks. So she's built that trust up with the team.
So consistency is
it's
important,
just consistency
right?
about it. And when you do need to change things, it's about talking to them a week or two before and building that kind of understanding. So we talk to the job coach about what we're doing. We've had team meetings. Renee even popped her head in at the back of a team meeting and kind of joined in on little bits of that. But the work with the job coaches has supported her through that, just really making sure she's comfortable with what she's doing. She's got more comfortable. They've stepped away and she's allowed to grow into that role.
I mean, the level of comfort is that not only are you doing that, you've travelled to Manchester to be on a podcast. I mean, that is showing definite comfort. So I see it, and it's really interesting when we talk about the positives of programs like this. I'm the same. Your facial expression changes because you see the difference these things are making to people, and we can read out the stats. The stats tell us exactly what the challenges are in society. But it's programs like this, through Mencap, through Prince's Trust, and through other programs that are out there across the country to help people overcome those barriers. It's so important. What was your experience like when you were coming to join Greene King? How did you get introduced through Prince's Trust?
So I'll be honest, I don't remember my Prince's Trust work coach. It feels like a different lifetime.
I said that's
ago.
5 years ago, right?
Yeah, it feels like a completely different life. I remember meeting Simon. I think my anxiety about it was, as he says about a stigma, the amount all the way through school and even still in my professional life, the amount of, I'd say, derogative comments or anything like that. The minute they hear you've got autism, you get labelled, you get seen differently, you get seen, is it really worth my time trying to train someone like this who isn't going to understand before they've even let me see my ability?
How does it feel to be labelled like that?
It's not great. I feel like they underestimate me.
Okay.
Because I don't interview. I'll be honest. I don't think I interview well. But as soon as I get into a job, even if it takes me a little longer than everyone else, I'm more than happy to do my best. And I'd say I love my job. They've heard it enough over the years.
So what is your job? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So originally when I first started out, I was just waiting tables. I was doing checkbacks. I was, it's the best way to put it, just being a host, seating people, interacting with the crowd out front. Then over the years, I started to ask for more training between. I tried a brief stint in the kitchen, got myself hurt. That was my fault. It's a whole story. Lasted half an hour.
Won't go there today.
Yeah. And then so we tried a different spot and I ended up training on the bar. And I really love it. About our job, it's interacting with the people, hearing different stories of come and go. It's just part of our job.
We get to meet the general public and on a daily basis hear different stories and have different interactions, right?
Yeah.
When you were talking about, the recruitment process, there was a conversation. Sometimes you hear things when you talk to people about experiences. And I was talking to someone who, again, you mentioned that the term for Asperger's has moved on. So I know there is different terminology. So forgive me if I'm saying it wrong.
As I've heard.
Yeah. But they couldn't give eye contact in an interview. And they were saying to me that basically, I know I should give eye contact. And I know that for me to do well on that interview, I should be able to do it. And I prep myself. But when I get into the interview, I just cannot give eye contact. That was their personal kind of trait and their barrier. And what we've done is we've then talked about with some of our managers internally is helping them to understand that by telling that story of if somebody doesn't give you eye contact, maybe it isn't because they don't want to give you eye contact or the label, the stigma of they're being rude. It's just that's part of their, one of their barriers or part of their for in this case with an autistic trait. How important is it, do you think, that we challenge these barriers, because that's what's stopping people, right? This is part of our societal issues we don't understand.
It definitely needs to be worked on a lot more than it has been. We're making great strides, I'll be honest, but it definitely needs to, rather than before giving people a chance, judging them, at least see what they can do first.
Yeah.
Judge them on work ethic, judge them on ability once you've actually seen how they can do it, and then make your decision. Don't make a decision on what you've heard or what you think
you've seen. And I guess programs like this are the way that you can then start to, I guess, experience people without following a traditional recruitment route, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the way forward, because you have to treat it very differently in terms of, for instance, when Mike started, the best way to get him to understand how we did things was write the process down.
Okay.
So he would have sort of a sticky sheet, sticky pad. We'd write bits down that he needed to do during the shift, and that's what he followed to get into a routine. Once he got into a routine, he was fantastic at that routine. But it was just understanding. But it wasn't just about me coaching Mike or Mike learning the business. The whole team have to change.
Okay.
So
how big is the team?
So they're around about 50.
Okay, so it's a big team.
50, around about 50, 55 at a peak at Mannor Farm. So it's just about coaching them on what the abilities are and how they support sort of Mike when he first started, because he learns very differently. But actually, when he's learned it, he's just as equally as good as anybody else that does that job. Yeah. It's just the process of learning. It took a little bit longer, and it's just building that routine up. And just getting the team to be more patient, but to also ask the right questions, because of understanding what Michael's autism was, or Asperger's at the time when we first started, was actually you could ask him to do a job role, But if somebody interrupted me in between that job role and asked me, he wouldn't remember the first thing that you asked him to do. So that would cause frustration with guests and other teams.
I'm seeing Mike smile and chuckle to himself as you're saying that. He obviously recognises that trait, right?
Yeah.
It tends to happen. So you'll get shifts where I'm doing something for a guest and then go, can you run this for me? And I'm like, I should probably say no, but then like automatically it goes, yeah, I'll do this. And then the guest will stop me and go, I thought you were doing this. And then someone else, can you do this as well? And I'm like, my head's just going to explode. And then he's like, just leave him alone. I've told him to do this. Anybody who says anything, just ask him first.
But that's important, right? So that's what you're saying. The team need to understand that's the individual trait,
yeah,
right?
and in a busy pub, everybody's running around, they're doing different jobs, and you're trying to multitask, but sometimes it is a little bit, it takes these sort of team a little bit longer to understand that, but it's also making sure the rest of the team understand. Just let them do the job that they need to do first and let them complete it and they complete it really well. It also gives them confidence when they're doing it.
Yeah,
I'm
that
seeing
happened.
Renee. Yeah, I knew you wanted to talk. I could see you.
That happened to me on Friday.
What happened?
Because I was doing, like, I was with a customer and then I forgot to go back to the other customer because they must have asked me to, I think, just to get them a spoon. And I forgot the spoon. And then because I was doing something else, I can't multitask. And it's really hard for me because if someone's telling me to do something and then I forget something else, I'll just lose track and I'll start to panic and have panic attacks.
Okay, and I guess all you want to do is deliver
Yeah,
good service, right? You want to do a good job.
Yeah, I just wanted to do the job, really.
And now that you're getting to know the team, I mean, I didn't realise there was 55 people in the team. That's a big team to come in and be part of. How does having that team support help?
It helps me quite a lot because everyone's so nice to me, and I've met like some of the staff and they're just so nice to me. It's just...
And this is in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So we're recording this
feels like
3 months after you started.
Feels like it's been a very long time, to be fair.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Interesting. And how did you find then, Si specifically, when you're trying to educate the rest of the team to be understanding of, and I'm picking obviously Renee and Mike here in the room today because they're the members that are here, but when you've got people coming through these programs, how do you get them to understand the need to think differently about these people?
We do it now in part of the recruitment. So if we take anybody else on, we talk about the team members that we've got and the needs that they have.
Okay.
So when we take people on, it's automatically building that actually we've got these team members, they'll support you, but we need you to help them in this way. So we kind of do that in the recruitment process now when we induct somebody. But I think it's more to do with my own personal history of going through everything I went with the kids and the struggles that we went through is I now have that sort of
hyper-awareness
and awareness of what they go through. So I probably wasn't that great at it with the kids when they were first going through it. And my struggles now, I've tried to turn actually, if I can help somebody else, that's the biggest part that I want to do. And
it's interesting, right? Because, you know, every day, to sound cheesy, I'm going to say it, every day is a learning day. There you go, I said it. But we make mistakes or we grow as we move along. And I've definitely found, Joe, through talking to different people, and I'll learn stuff from today, just from having conversations with the three of you as individuals, but we constantly are learning. And I guess that must be the same for you as you're all part of this team, is that you're all learning from each other about different needs, different experiences, and what you need to do to make people feel welcome. That's what we want to do, right?
Yeah, and it's just having them conversations with people when they feel down or you notice they're not quite themselves. So I can know when Mike's having a bad day because he rushes when he's in, and it is a case of just literally just getting him to go out the back or in the office, have 5 minutes and kind of refresh himself and kind of go again. But he does have them sort of days occasionally.
We all have those days, Mike, don't worry. It's not just you, but how does that feel when you're having those days?
It gets to the point so as I start to get stressed, because the other thing you had to work around at the time, I was dealing with like heart condition type symptoms. So he also had to go, how's your heart? Are you taking this? Have you done this? So at least then if I forgot or I'm too busy rushing back, he'd always be there to try and make sure my checklist is done. But he's also quite fortunate, and he'll probably tell you himself, he's got a great management team as far as if he's not there in his stead, at least he can trust certain people like one of my mentors called Martin or his assistant manager Josh. We all make our mistakes and we all jump on each other sometimes, But at the end of the day, we all care. We all get there as a team when we can, and it works itself out.
It's going back to this theme ethic, right? Where you all are helping each other out. Because I hadn't really thought about that. Like, you know, the day that the GM is not there, do you feel different? But I guess if you're building the team underneath you and making sure that everyone is treating each other equally, then hopefully that becomes natural.
Yeah, we've got so many different personalities in the business. We slowly incorporated different days. So Renee worked on a Tuesday, so she would see some different team members and different management, and I would come in later. And now she's working a Friday, where again it's different guests and some different team. But again, it's building on that as well. But everybody knows everybody's capabilities. It's a team. They're all going to fall out occasionally. They all get on occasionally. There's going to be differences. We get that.
Yeah.
It's just having that conversation at the end of the shift, and they can have a drink. They'll go out occasionally, and they'll sort their differences out, and they're fine. It's just being open and honest with everybody, and we get them to share their frustrations sometimes. Okay. Actually talk to each other.
Are you comfortable to share your frustrations with each other? Is that something that happens quite naturally? Renee's laughing, going, not so sure.
I'm not too sure, but I haven't had anything like there's a problem with Michael, because there isn't. But he is just like me. He's just bubbly and just outgoing. I was about to say I'm nice to you all the time. Yeah, so
don't have any beef on the podcast.
Yeah, so we haven't had any I don't dislike him, because I can't really dislike someone that I work with.
Yeah.
But
that's what we want, right? In a team, you want to go to work, feel comfortable, and do a good job. Do you find it's different working, where it's busier shifts, you say you work on a Friday? Does that bring added pressure, or is that excitement to the job?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
Because I sometimes panic a lot, which I've been saying on this program. But I sometimes panic, and sometimes I will go in the extension and just take some time to cool down for a bit, and then I'll be back on shift, and then I'll be back to normal.
But it's important to know that you can do that, and that's okay.
With my anxiety as well, it throws me off track, because when I'm doing something else, it's just I have to remember to go back and do that. So it's just more panic more than anxiety, but I do have a lot of anxiety.
And is that getting easier as the time is going on with this placement?
Yeah, quite a lot, yeah. I've learned a lot.
How does that affect, I'm kind of trying to ask you a question, but is it changing your life outside of work as well? What's happening?
Just I'm more talking to a lot of more people, not strangers, clearly.
Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, but I've been more confident in myself, when I am making eye contact as well with people, because I don't normally make eye contact, because I don't know what it is, but I freak out.
But again, it's a learning I've had, that it is a common trait with people who have got autism, that sometimes making eye contact is really, really difficult. And we expect a society that everybody gives eye contact, right? It's what you do, and then that builds up more and more pressure to do it. I was going to talk about going back to the process of getting in on these programs. One of the things that we hear a lot when we talk to people with various different needs and abilities is getting through a recruitment process to get a job. We've talked about the interview, but even just filling out an application form in this day and age can be really, really difficult when it doesn't need to be. We've got so many accessibility tools out there to help us to get employment, but yet we go back to the stats that tell us people still aren't getting employment. What are the challenges that you would have applying for a job in a normal, if you weren't coming through a program, what would be the challenges you might well face, do you think?
At least personally, I was going to ask you, because I don't know the difference between when you would have last applied and how I've done it since. I find applications easy, doing all personal information's easy, right. But then you get to a box where you've got to talk about yourself or how your personal skills would transfer to this role, what you're applying for. And I'm I just go blank. I was I don't know how to sell myself here. I'm either going to sound arrogant or I'm going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it just makes me really nervous once you get to a section like that on certain jobs.
So giving the honest data is just fine. It's when you've got to give your opinion on top of that and try and...
I can't talk about myself greatly.
Yeah, neither can I. I don't know what it is, but I can't talk about myself properly, because I just end up saying a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be said on the sheet.
But probably it's probably all great stuff, but you just don't feel comfortable to say it because you'll be talking about your experiences, which is generally what application forms are asking us to do. But sometimes, you know, we're comfortable with sharing that, other people aren't. How do you find, I guess, Si, if you're thinking about other people coming through the normal recruitment process, is there any of the challenges you're getting from people coming through that you think we could change?
I think it's just we get them to kind of meet some of the team on the day. So not just we interview sort of, we'll pick through the CVs and the application process for the ones that we think will fit in with the team. We'll get them to come in and we'll get that first kind of vibe about how they're feeling and kind of get them in on the job and get them to meet some of the team and walk around and do kind of the old job trial part thing. They wouldn't do anything, but just get them to interact with the team a little bit. The best part with it slightly moved on from when Michael started with us with the Prince's Trust, because that was only a 2-week trial. It was kind of do your training and work with the team. We buddied him up. He was on the floor and we got the team to say how well he got on, what we did need to support him with. Then we had a conversation at the end of the 2 weeks and I offered him a job. But Renee's one's slightly different through the Mencap thing. We get a sort of call it like a job sheet. It's a history of what she's got and sort of what she needs support on, and we had that chat, and we just kind of think every so often we'll sit down and I'll do some feedback of what she's done great at and anything she needs to work on and any concerns that she's got, and we feed that through the job coach.
Great.
And that's obviously helping her as well. But if there's any issues I need to know about in terms of she's struggling with something or she needs a little bit more help or she's not quite understood something, we get that feedback and we kind of go back and then we try and resolve that as quick as we can.
Okay. And I guess, feedback is a natural thing to get, right? But when you are on a program like Mencap, how, getting that two-way feedback and understanding, because you're growing, right? You're learning new things, I'm sure, on a daily basis. Is it comfortable getting that feedback?
Yeah. Sometimes I just think maybe feedback is needed, but then not needed, because sometimes I would read the feedback and then I would panic, which I keep using again because I am panicking. But I sometimes would just look at it and then my head would just go different ways because I just don't understand what they would say. Or,
to process it.
Yeah, the process.
When you've had time to process it, is that then something that you feel is helping you to kind of, I guess, panic less, or when you get to the end of it, what's the best?
Yeah, I think it's just like either panicking less or just me having to think positive about it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Turning the frown upside down and turning it into a positive, right? Because that's what feedback is. Feedback is, it's a two-way thing, and we all get used to it in life. But I mean, I'm the same. Sometimes when I get negative feedback, I'm like, what? I'm gonna overthink that for the rest of the day. But then eventually you get to the point where you think, okay, I can grow from that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, I guess, what people will be really interested, I think, to understand, and we gave a bit of an insight to this earlier on, is for people coming through these programs, what does a standard day look like when you come into work? Because this might be a barrier that people have where they think, oh, I'm not sure that for me, with whether it's people with autism or any other conditions or experiences, that working in a pub is not for me. It's too busy, there's too many things going on, or whatever. Can you help us to bring to life what a day working in Mannor Farm is like, but specifically working in a pub, and why that might be something that if you hadn't thought about working in a pub before, that you go, oh, okay, could be where my future is? And that's open to anyone, right? I'm not asking anyone specifically. Share it together. But I'd love to. I've never been to your pub site, so I'm trying to visualize where I am. But what's a day like?
I think when the team are taken on and we go through the process, everybody's treated very differently depending on how they feel when they first start. So Renee did the walk round at work. She was then comfortable to get the uniform and then come back and then did sort of about an hour, and then would go back and sit with a job coach and do some of the things where we've got another Mencap student that works in my kitchen that his job coach would take him to work every day and build his confidence of getting to the building in the kitchen. Now we've got a kitchen team that supports him and he'll work them days with the kitchen. So it's only sort of 12 till 3 on 2 days a week, but he's got that loyalty with them team, and they've built sort of a connection. So everybody's different. It might take weeks for them to actually get in the building. It could take months to get in the building, but we're still giving it a go and trying different alternatives. And Renee pretty much hit the ground running after a few weeks.
Well done.
And I say is when she does get sort of nervous or anxious about anything, she will kind of take 5 minutes, have a break, and go and speak to Jordan, our job coach, and kind of learning how to self-control it and build herself up to it has been great. And Michael at the start, all them years ago, was very negative. He'd been through different pub chains, different restaurant groups, and he felt used at the time. I think when he came into it, he was expecting me after the 2 weeks to go, actually, no, we've used it to glass clip, we've used it to clip, see you later. Yeah. And I didn't do that. So his reaction at the time was really positive. He went into our meeting kind of, you're going to let me go, you're going to do this. Actually, no, we actually offered you a job, Michael. And
that's why we do these things, right? It's actually for good.
Yeah. If we're going to do these programs and fully go into and support them, we need to be looking at actually we should be giving something at the end of it.
Yeah.
Or supporting them. So actually, if pub work's not for them, actually we've given them some tools to go away with and find something that they're great at. So it's about their confidence.
Right? It's not always going to be right for everybody.
No, it's working in pubs and restaurants is always, you've got to love it, and you've got to love people. Some people will experience it and won't like it, but they'll go into something else and do something great. But if we can give everybody the tools of talking to people, a bit of confidence, and get over a bit of anxiety and put a routine into it, we might have helped them get into a job in the future and doing something that they want to enjoy doing.
Got you. So you were on a 2-week placement and now you're still here 5 years later.
Yeah.
Was that real that you really thought that it wasn't going to last longer than 2 weeks?
So as I said, bear in mind, prior to that, I'm jumping between certain companies for nearly a year. And so after the trials, everything, my coaches for different roles were saying how good I was doing, or they think you're slow, but you'll get there over time, this, that, and the other. Then you get to my probation period where like, I'm sorry, like, we're letting you go. We need someone to pick this up straight away, this, that, and the other. So when you get to Simon, I'm like, I'm feeling, because not much has been said to me. And I'm like, how do the staff feel? I feel like the staff are confident, but I've heard this story before.
Okay.
So I was waiting for history to repeat. And it's only because, as I said, Mel was excited to tell me, but she couldn't. So no one said anything, and no one was allowed to say anything because Simon wanted to do it himself. I'm like, I think the question was, how do you think you did? Or how do you think you've got on? I was like, I don't want to answer this. I'm going to think I've done great. And then he's going to be like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, this is back to your application form all over again, writing good stuff about yourself. And when you got told that, how did that, what was the reaction?
I feel like I could breathe. I know it sounds exaggerated, but I feel like I went home happy. I went home excited, like this could be the break for me. Never did I expect I'd still be here 5 years, coming up to 6 years in October, I believe.
Yeah.
Down the line, and think how far I've come. I'm not saying that we even now, she's only a few months in. Renee's only a few months in. And even now, 5 years down the line, I still have my moments where I still need to learn. I still need to rethink, like, should I do this differently?
Yeah.
How can I improve this? I'm always trying. You can never stop learning, but I definitely feel a lot more confident from when I was the 5 years ago.
And Renee, what about you? What do you hope for the future? Whether it's at Mannor Farm, or what do you hope to get out of this program?
I just want a job.
You want a job? And that's simple, right?
I've always wanted to be based in like a restaurant base, so I'll be happy if I get the job to be there.
Okay. Yeah, and that's important. It is the simple things to just want to be able to get employment and break through that barrier. If you can roll forward 5 years' time, where do you see yourself?
I haven't got any thoughts in my head yet, but I'll probably do like apprenticeship, maybe.
Okay. What would you like to do an apprenticeship in?
Like restaurant, in a restaurant.
Wow. And that's a great way to build your skills and keep, as you're growing your confidence, is to get an apprenticeship behind you. And that's something, that would definitely stand to you. No pressure, Saib. Make that happen. There you go. There is the challenge now set.
Yeah, and I think it was my fault I put that idea into her head. We were talking about obviously potential jobs in the future and how she can continue learning, and obviously when the Mencap stuff finishes eventually, if we were to offer a job, they still support for a little bit, but actually what else can she do and learn? Michael did the level 2. Level 2 a few years ago, and I talked to her about it and said there's options there. If it takes you longer to do it, then it takes you longer to do it, but we talk about when we join the apprenticeship that actually you will need a bit more support about it, you will need a bit more time of it, and if it's too much you can take breaks. We've learned that over the years and done that with different team members, so but it's also something that they've got that they've done themselves and worked for themselves. And I think the part with the Mencap is you still do a bit of work at the moment as well, don't you? So it's just getting them ready for obviously later on. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities there.
And that's all we can ask for, right? Is opportunities to continue to grow and to be given the same experiences and same opportunities that everybody's done. And that's inclusion. You can try and put a lot of very fancy words around what inclusion truly means, but it's just treating people equally, regardless of our background. That's ultimately what we're here to do. I guess part of this is why we do this podcast is to share stories, and we've heard amazing backgrounds to all of you today. And I think as we're talking here, I'm probably thinking about the audience that's listening or watching, and what they can take away from it. And I think there's one audience that I probably would speak to, which is employers and people, whether it's in the hospitality industry or in any industry out there. And it's people, I'm going to put the pressure on you, Si. It's like you. People like Si who are general managers who are willing to take the chance on these people. What advice would you give them if, sometimes these things are scary and you don't have the lived experience that you have now, or living experience of having a family who have got, autism diagnosis. What advice would you give them?
I think it's not looking for the quick fix.
Okay.
I think the biggest issue, we all run busy pubs. We all want the quick fix. You want the next team member in that's ready to go. But we also talk about building team and the loyal team that actually stay with you and reduce team turnover. I think the biggest thing is that actually if you show somebody you care, invest that time in them, 5, nearly 6 years down the line, Michael's still working with us. If that was a quick fix, they probably are already on to their 5th or 6th pub by now. Yeah. So I think it's just taking that time, be prepared to make a few sacrifices, and actually you might make mistakes on the way with it, but like we said before, it's about learning, it's about supporting each other, and I say these team men, when we take them on, they're grateful that we've given them opportunity and they're loyal to us and they support us and our teams. But it also grows that in the rest of the team that have got family members with the same sort of diagnosis is going on, or the struggles. They can see people that are getting jobs and they can see the support they've got. But also they'll speak to them about what they've been through that helps their children. So it's just about, just taking your time and actually thinking about how you can support somebody else is probably the biggest thing about it. Is just don't go for the quick win. There's more emotional at the end of it to say that you've done something great, and actually it's more rewarding. I think seeing Michael still working now has been great. And still learning.
I think the story there is don't go for the quick win. The quick win is sometimes the obvious thing to do, but it isn't necessarily the longer term best thing for you as a manager in whatever trade you're in, for your business, but also for the individuals, right? It's giving that opportunity, and that quick win does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a quick win.
It does, and it's also you employ local people. So you get their families come in, you get their friends come in, and it just creates that whole local atmosphere and community. So every pub's going to be different to where they're located, but for a community pub and things like that and family pubs, it's great because actually you employ locally and you're supporting the local community. So you build up that kind of trust as well. So that's a great feeling.
And I guess the other audience I was thinking about is people who, in this instance, may have autistic diagnosis and are back to where you were, struggling to get your long-term opportunity. Renee, back to you kind of 4 months ago, not having this opportunity to be working in a pub. What would you say to those people and thinking about, what advice you would give to them?
So I have to remember, because it's very easily to think negatively, especially because of different things and different stigmas for previous years and success, failure. way I have to look at it is I try not to look at it as defeat all the time, whereas I can be really negative about it once I fail. But I have to remember that you learn more in failure and you can build yourself up for the next time, make it better than you do in success.
Okay. And is that part of your, I guess, is that a trait of how you think, is that you face into things initially with a more negative approach?
I'd say so. Don't get me wrong, I do try and be confident about it, but I don't know what's wrong with me to the degree where I don't always look at it as glass half full. It's more half empty to me sometimes.
So I guess what you're saying there is your advice to somebody who might be feeling like that is actually take the leap, try it and see where you get with it.
Oh yeah, it's scary, but it's definitely worth it. You get supported by great people. You could meet new people. You could have experiences you never could imagine you could have. And then you look back at it, all the anxiety and all the stigmas in your head afterwards, and you're like, that's a distant memory. You look back at where you are once you're in somewhere like my position, and you're like, I've met some really talented people, some really caring people, and it's changed my life forever and for the better.
Well, as the confident person that you are sat next to me today, that just seems natural for you, but I'm guessing that's been a journey to get there.
It's been a lot of work, but we get there.
I love it. Renee, thinking about you, so obviously, joining Mencap and joining that program, what advice would you for somebody about thinking about joining a program like this?
Well, a bit of what Michael said. You should just obviously be yourself and just take upon your time just to think of the obviously positives before the negatives, obviously, and just take it step by step, because not like what Simon said, people learn different. So it's just process your first thing first and then just keep going and you'll build on your confidence.
Go from there. And I think the important thing you said there is be yourself. Talk about, when you think you've really delivered amazing service, and why was it so good?
No, I'll let you go first.
Don't put it on me. Don't put it on me.
You're the manager.
Mike's here today.
Yeah, don't put it on me. I just think sometimes we've done. I'm trying to think. There's loads of times where we've done great service people. Christmas Day, we've done things. We've put a Santa Claus on. We've had people taking photos with them. I think this Christmas just gone was a record breaker for us. We got no negative feedback for the whole day. So I think, and it was great. It was just a great atmosphere. Everybody enjoyed it.
What built that atmosphere, Si?
Having a team involved in it, we got one of the team to dress up as Santa for the day, who was just free to go around and do photos. He was joking about with the team. He was just having fun, but everybody was just engaged. And yeah, it was just a bit of fun. It was a bit of a laugh. And actually, for a high pressure day, making it the most enjoyable day was probably the best thing to do.
Fun is the word, right? Work should feel fun. And I guess, that's also another point to take when we're trying to, help people to think about why you might want to come and work in hospitality. It can be fun. It can be pressurizing. We can have busy days. To see Renee smiling down the end of you, do you feel that fun?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me about how you have fun at work.
I just get along with the work, basically. I just don't mess around. I just get on with what I'm supposed to be doing, and I get tips as well. So I haven't been getting them recently, but I still think I've been doing good anyways. But
do you interact a lot with customers?
Yeah, there's some customers that speak to me and be like, "Oh, how's your experience?" And then I tell them about my experience, and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, you keep doing your job, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing and stuff like that." And I feel obviously more open about myself, a bit more.
And you're getting that feedback direct from the customer as well, right? And you know that you're making them happy, and they're getting to know you as an individual. Yeah. Honestly, when you talk, it sounds like you've worked at this pub for so long. I can't believe you've only been there for just over 3 months. It's like she's part of the furniture.
She is, and you get the same people that come in and eat on the Mondays, the Tuesdays, and the Fridays. So you get to know the team. So they'll talk to her like, "Oh, you knew, and what you're doing here." And at the start, she had a job coach following around. Who are them? And it was like having an extra employee, host, and things like that. So Jordan really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So you get to know their orders, to get to know their backgrounds. That's the nice thing.
But the thing is, when they're not there as well, so the team member's missing, sometimes the guest will say, "Oh, where's Renee or where's Mark? I haven't seen them for a while." It's they're on holiday or they've had to have some time off. So there is things like that. Michael he's great at history. And we'll talk to guests for ages about history. But
Listen, it got me a 5-star review last week, 2 weeks ago, so it's fine.
Got him a 5-star TripAdvisor.
So I don't try to. If I start hearing them have a conversation, or if I start having a conversation with certain people, they'll mention a certain location, or they'll mention something, and I was like, oh, I know about that. Or like someone mentioned going to Turkey, and I was like, where did you go? And they go somewhere close to Istanbul, and I was like, oh, former Constantinople, head of the Eastern Roman Empire, stuff like that. And I just go on a tangent. And
I feel like Renee's heard this story before.
Yeah, I think I have.
probably.
I heard that. I know all the
Probably.
story. But that's nice, right? That's interaction is helping us all to, feel more comfortable with ourselves and be us.
Yeah, and guests will have that conversation with him. We try to encourage them to have that conversation once they're finished chewing their food.
That's learning, right? That's learning.
I try.
But they will go and interact with him afterwards because they've had that conversation. So they will talk to him about where they've gone on holiday or history things and that still on TV. So there is that interaction there. And it's just a great thing that guests come back for as well, and they ask for. So it's just that loyalty with sort of the guests. And yeah, and the biggest thing we did when we opened Mannor was to create a family environment and a family as a team. It's kind of when we inducted everybody from day one. There was about 60 plus people we did on the first few weeks of training when we opened. It was, you're not all going to get on, but we treat it as a family. You're going to have your little squabbles, but at the end of it, we all work as a team and everybody leaves happy. And we've carried that on. We've still got people that were the original team from before it was a brand change. So we've got teams with nearly 10 years service, or if not more now.
Yeah.
And we've got people that we opened with from the day one training. And obviously I'm still there from obviously opening it. So yeah, it's just keeping that consistency through the team and the core of the team, and then building it up with new team around it. Because obviously people leave to go uni and qualify and things like that. But yeah, it's just building that team.
It was good seeing them come back as well seasonally. This guy makes me laugh. He talks about a family, but it does quite literally go like that sometimes when we've had 2 brothers, 2 sisters and a mum work there. We've had a team leader and her 2 daughters work there. We've had a team leader and a sister work there. Then we have people's brothers work there, people's sisters, people's mums, people's friends, and it all...
But isn't this, I guess, as we're kind of talking about the team, and you are representing the team so well today, even though you're only 3 of 50 plus people, what you're showing is that collective spirit is what's really helping here to make a difference to your community, to your guests that you are serving, but also to individuals like yourselves that are looking for new opportunities. And I think, kudos to you all for being individual, for being you. Kudos to you for leading the from the front on it and using your living experience with autism to, I guess, drive this forward. And I just hope that for the people that are listening today, who listen back to this episode, that they think differently. And that's all we can ask for, is they think and they get away from where you were talking earlier on, Michael, about, some stigmas or some ways of approaching, or, we start supporting each other more when we are visibly anxious, for example. I think you're doing amazing things. You've been amazing guests on our podcast. I would like to ask you one final thing, which is one final bit of advice that you would give to somebody. What's the one big tip you're going to give someone who is either not necessarily thinking about applying for a job, but just talking about differences or autism?
Keep being you and just make yourself, be an effort. Just express how you feel, even if it's a restaurant or if you're in a different place. Just keep being you and literally.
Renee, right back at you. Keep being you. You are fantastic. We wish you all the best with the rest of your placement, and fingers crossed for you to move forward to bigger and better things with us at Greene King. So take that advice as well for you. Keep being you. Thank you for that. Si?
She stole what I was going to say. So. No, I think have some trust in the process, in the people that are around you supporting you. I think that's the biggest thing. There's so many things around people now to support them. Believe in that trust that the process will eventually work and the stigmatisms are going to go. It's about educating not just workplaces, but educating the guests as well to have that understanding. So yeah, That's it.
Great. Last but not least.
If I'd steal your point from earlier, you meant about the only way to fix this sort of stigma is rather than beat around the bush and avoid it, actually talking about it. And if I could say anything to people, it might be scary. Most good points in your life will be go for it headlong. And if I wanted to give credit to someone quickly, if I'm allowed.
Please.
So one of the earliest people I ever met 5 years ago was an incredible woman called Chloe. She's my team leader and she's currently off on leave. But one of the first conversations we ever had, she goes, not to be offensive, but you're, she takes a breath and she goes, you've got autism or you've got something about you, don't you? It threw me off a bit because I'm not used to it being so directly confronted. But ever since then, just her being able to support me and the great work between our team leaders and even the management in someone like Adam, and you've got people like Martin, like Gemma, like Josh, like Simon, a lot of incredible people I could talk about. It's being able to know,
into it, just being honest, right?
Yeah, just being honest, talk about it. And if you find someone isn't learning a certain way, then give them time and see if you could change it slightly. We've all got our own ways, we've all got our own passions. And I'm not a public speaker per se, but if I can inspire...
I think there's evidence here that might be against that, to the contrary.
I wouldn't say people are a person of the masses or anything like that, but if I can inspire just one more person to believe in what they want to do or give this sort of industry a try, then that's good enough for me.
I guarantee you will have achieved that and more today, all three of you. If every pub, restaurant, hospitality venue, whatever, could be like Mannor Farm, we will be making a huge difference to society. So let's inspire them all to think differently and to take some inspiration from this story today. And I guarantee you will all have made a difference. So thank you for being part of Pint of Perspective. And we wish you all individually the best of success in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.